Hello, everyone. Welcome to Valley Homes on TV. I'm Todd Flesner, along with Debbie Giordano.
Hi, Todd. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining us, folks, as we make our way around Milpitas, bringing to you some of the people and the places that make Milpitas such a great place to live and to work. So we're glad you've joined us here on Channel 26, and very well maybe a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday evening at 6:30. Or Saturday, Sunday at 9 a.m., I believe is when we are on a regular basis.
I think so, yeah.
All right, I should get that right by now.
No, I think that's when they show it. I heard it was almost every day, but anyway.
Well, and I know that they also run at other times as well, but we're glad you've joined us.
Thank you, yeah.
So we're going to learn a little bit more about our community today, and you've brought a guest.
We have.
Folks.
We've got. I'm excited to introduce to the folks here in Milpitas our new Public Works Director, Jeff Moneta. And welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, welcome, Jeff. We're glad to have you.
I'm glad to be here.
Terrific. So you're new to Milpitas.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Well, yes and no. I mean, you're going to talk about your background, but...
I started here on May 13th of this year, so I'm going on my 4th month.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, terrific. Well, yeah, maybe tell us a little bit about your background. What brought you to Milpitas, and maybe where you grew up, your education, and some of those sort of things that folks might be interested to know about you.
Sure. Most people would be surprised that I made the move. So I was born in Hawaii, lived there a year, lived in San Diego since I was 1. Started working for the city of Chula Vista there a few years after college. So I obtained my bachelor's degree from San Diego State University in 1995. Stayed in San Diego, didn't even venture out for college. And I thought I would be in San Diego for the rest of my life, but changes occurred. During college, actually, we had our first child, my wife and I, early. So we got married in college, had our first child my senior year. And so we became parents at a very young age. So we have an 18-year-old now. She's starting college, and our son is 16. And we thought now would be a good opportunity to venture out. I previously worked private sector. Then I went to the city of Chula Vista, worked there 10 years. Worked for the city of National City. I was actually loaned out for a few months and saw an opportunity to go to Orange County and become a public works director. Worked there for 5 years and thought, now's a time for a challenge. I've reached a point in my career where 2 square miles of a city was fully built out. There weren't as many challenges. Saw the opportunity at Milpitas with all the various projects, 14 square miles, larger population, the BART project, and all the development that's going on in the city, and thought, after I've driven through the city, thought this would be an ideal place to finally make my final destination before I retire.
You live in the city, is that?
I actually live just south of the city, about 10 minutes away in San Jose.
Okay,
But
nice.
I'm renting up a room, and it's temporary until my wife moves up.
Nice.
Yeah, thank
Well,
you.
let's we'll get to some of the things that you have on your plate right now with the city. Why Public Works? Why did you pick that field, and what drove you into that arena?
Well, going through high school, my biggest strength was in mathematics. So I have 2 older cousins that are civil engineers, and they geared me towards becoming a civil engineer. I had desires to become an electrical engineer, but being a civil engineer, you're exposed to the outdoors. So that was my desire to be a civil engineer. And then eventually it went from working in the private sector to starting to work for cities. And ever since I started for a city, I said I would never go to the private sector.
So engineering, I'm sorry, to clarify, engineering is your background then, in terms of your studies and your education?
Yes.
Okay.
I can see where Tom Williams, the city manager, has helped to select you, because he also came with private sector and public sector experience. So with you bringing that to the table makes it a really nice compliment here at our city to have a strong staff working
Definitely.
under Tom. So.
Yeah, terrific. And maybe expand on that a little bit. How does that background in the public sector and private sector help you in your job?
That's a good question.
Well, you see both sides of the table, especially dealing with projects from a contracting standpoint. With city projects, you're usually on one side of the project where you have to manage the project from that end. On the private side, the developments occur within the city, and you have to meet the city requirements. So to be able to see both sides of how a project needs to be completed has been very influential in me moving up to where I am today.
Terrific.
So tell us then some of the functions of your department. Let's see, how many employees and what services actually does Public Works provide?
Public Works has approximately 60 employees right now.
Okay.
We have, it's two divisions. So we have the engineering division at City Hall, and then we have the Public Works division, which is at our corporation yard, which is North Milpitas Boulevard. So Public Works on the maintenance side performs street maintenance, facilities maintenance, parks maintenance as well. And then we have utility side of Public Works maintenance, which includes water, sewer, and storm drains. On the engineering side of...
Oh, that sounds really exciting, storm drains, sewers. You smile. I mean, you must be really excited about that stuff.
It does. It's very exciting for me because people don't realize that the water that is delivered to the properties, what's involved in that process. So on the engineering side of Public Works, there's water compliance, sewer compliance, storm drain compliance. On the engineering side of Public Works, you have to design, build, and construct the improvements, and then it gets deferred to the Public Works maintenance side for the maintenance and upkeep for the long term. So that's what excites me, is being able to do start to finish. You start a project, you design it, you finish it, and then you maintain it, and you try to keep it
So folks that turn their tap water on at their homes don't understand the complexity and all the components that go together to deliver that water there. The same with being able to, take out waste out of the house, the sewer system, complexity there. So.
Yes, the water system is managed. We do have water received from two sources. So we receive water from San Francisco Public Utility Commission, which we call here the Hetch Hetchy line.
Which is excellent water.
And that's 60% of our water. 40% comes from Santa Clara Valley Water District. And so we have an opportunity as well to connect the intertie. So if one water supply is compromised, we can shut off that water supply and activate the other one to fully power this, or to provide water service to the entire city.
Oh, terrific. Well, so that sounds like it's one of the projects you have going, and takes a look at some of the legacy sort of infrastructure that's in Milpitas. And Milpitas is kind of at the age in terms of its development where maybe some of the infrastructure is coming to the end of its useful life cycle. Maybe you could talk a little bit about, what some of those challenges are, because there's a lot of development in the 60s and 70s. There's a lot of development going on now as well, and how do you connect those two, and what are the challenges with that?
Well, with any new development, one is you have to ensure that the existing infrastructure can handle the additional development. So there's quite a bit of engineering involved with determining if lines need to be, for example, a sewer line, if it has enough capacity to handle the new development. So one, you have to make sure that the line is intact and in proper condition. And does it have the proper capacity to handle the new development? In some cases, the new development would require an increase in the size of the pipes, and that's why you'll see some construction going on in those cases.
So that's part of your engineering department that has to verify that information and make sure that everything fits, the system fits together.
That's correct.
Nice.
Yes.
Let me ask you about, is under your corp yard, that other leg of your Public Works, do you have street landscaping within that corp yard?
That's correct.
Let's talk about, again, Todd brought up a really good point about the aging infrastructure, the pipes and the water pipes. We also have a lot of mature trees in the Manor area down in Abbott and some other areas. Are we replanting that? How are we maintaining those street trees? And we'll be looking to replant and more vegetation for trees for streets.
Sure. Landscaping and trees are maintained by our division. It's a combination of contractors that are hired by the city, and we have an arborist that monitors that entire program. So the arborist is our tree expert, and in some cases, they would develop a plan of which area needs to be targeted, and then we maintain those accordingly. As far as new trees going in, we're actually working with the Citizen Advisory Committee, CAC.
Oh, nice.
And with that, we're looking at opportunities to place new trees within city facilities, but not cause long-term possible problems. Certain tree species, if planted in the wrong area, could cause an uplift of certain improvements, and we want to avoid that.
If folks out there have concerns with their street trees, or they want to get in contact with City Hall and have that, looked at, they can contact somebody then there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And on the website, my information's listed as well, so my phone number and email address is there, and I have no problem with residents contacting me directly.
Great. Ellen will put that
Okay,
up.
terrific. Well, we talked about street trees and sewers and the water systems. Something that also affects the citizens here on a daily basis are our streets and the maintenance of those and ensuring that, they're pothole-free and those sort of things. What sort of programs does Public Works have for that?
Public Works constantly drives the streets, so it's because we have people deployed, whether they're utilities or they may not even pertain to the street department. We're constantly looking for any potential concerns. So any potholes are reported. The communications is pretty open and frequent. So any concerns are immediately reported. Liability items particularly are handled immediately. So if we see pothole repairs, we'll respond to those right away. On the maintenance side of it, we do have a program in place using the pavement management program. And based on that, we try to find what areas should be targeted with the proper maintenance strategy. So an example of that is, some residents have questions regarding an overlay versus a slurry seal versus crack sealing. So in some cases, the slurry seal is the most cost-effective solution. So it's a good example of that would be like changing your oil on your vehicle. That would be a slurry seal. You conduct preventative maintenance so that the deterioration of the pavement doesn't get to the point where an overlay is needed. And an overlay is done, there comes a time when you can only do so many slurry seals before you have to do an overlay to correct the drainage on the street to make sure everything ties to the curb and gutter. So quite a bit.
Good. Well, how about other traffic sort of concerns? Some cities are getting into, measures for traffic calming, and, if folks have issues about maybe traffic in their neighborhood, is that something that comes through Public Works?
Absolutely. If any questions or concerns arise, they could be sent directly to me. I work with the traffic engineer directly, and we figure out the best solution to try to alleviate that problem.
Wow, that's quite an interesting group. I didn't know Public Works did this much. I was not. I didn't know that. So, Jeff, what do you find as some of the current challenges now of your job? You've been here. You said 3 months, 4 months.
Almost 4 months.
4 months. So you're in the groove. What do you see happening?
I think with any city in California, we've struggled with the loss of redevelopment dollars. So all cities have had to scale back with expenditures. So doing more with less people, expanding positions, cross-training. I've had to already implement programs where I've rotated people and done some cross-training for the benefit of the city. So what that allows is in case of an emergency, then you have multiple people that can perform that function. And we're actually looking at preventative maintenance strategies as well in order to ensure that everything is properly conducted. For example, when you pave a street, what I'd like to implement here is during the winter months, you would perform any leak detection for water. You would send the cameras into the sewer pipes to see if there's any repairs needed on the sewer pipes.
It's just like PG&E. They do that too, don't they, down their pipes?
Fairly similar, yes.
Similar situation.
And based on that, before you pave the street in the summer, you've already done all the underground work.
Nice. Good.
Oh, terrific. Well, you talked about a little bit of some of the challenges that you see. What about rewards? What is it that you enjoy most about being in Public Works in your job?
Besides the great weather here in the Silicon Valley.
For me, it's seeing the public improvements and people enjoying them. We struggle with a lot of projects and dealing with the obstacles in order to complete a project. But when you receive the satisfaction from the residents, when you receive the satisfaction from the city council, the positive feedback is incredible. And that's what makes you feel like you've done your job and you've done it well.
Oh, good.
Well, in closing, let's talk about some of the future things. I mean, here you are. I understand BART is coming in, and that you're a major component of how, in fact, we're seeing the trenching going on in Montague and Capitol Expressway, and I understand next will be Dixon Landing. Let's talk about the BART coming into the city.
The BART project is one of the primary reasons why I took this job, because I like to be exposed to larger projects, and this was a great opportunity for me. So the BART project is going to be an extension from Fremont heading to San Jose, and the obstacles associated with this project are incredible. Acquiring properties, having to deal with relocation of utilities. We've had to allow night work in some cases because we wanted to minimize the traffic impacts during the day to the residents. As long as they didn't cause any noise, then we would go ahead and authorize that work. You'll see a significant amount of lane shifts. So as they finish a certain part of the street, that you still have to maintain traffic. As you see some of the work being done, once that work's completed, you shift it over the completed work.
Wow.
And then you'll see a lot of phasing going on.
It's a lot of orchestrating going on.
Definitely. So I think it's going to be a great project.
I think it's going to put Milpitas on the map.
Definitely. And being new to here from San Diego, using the BART system is incredible.
The only thing bigger might be we can do the bullet train down to Southern California, and you can do that one. So.
Visit family in San Diego.
Definitely.
Oh.
Well, good. Well, Jeff, we appreciate you spending some time with us and filling us in about what all Public Works is doing here in Milpitas.
No problem.
And some of the challenges you face. We welcome you to the community. We're glad that you joined us.
Yes.
And hope you have a long and enjoyable career here.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
And
Terrific.
Jeff, thank you very much for being our guest today. Here's a Valley Homes on TV Milpitas Edition
Oh, thank you.
T-shirt. So,
Wonderful.
Yep. And we want to thank you again very much, Lynn. What an asset you're going to be to this city. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, too.
Great. Thanks, Jeff.
Through the years, trends and styles may come and go, but the important things remain the same. Generation after generation, consistently there, creating moments and memories to last a lifetime. Like a true friend, the national parks have always been there for you, and now you can be there for them. Support the National Park Foundation and help protect America's treasured places.
Think you found every hazard out here today? Think again. The spot you missed could be a killer. That spot on your skin could be skin cancer. If you're a man over 50, you're in a group most likely to develop skin cancer, including melanoma, the kind that kills one person every hour. That's why your best shot is to check for a spot. It's easy. Follow through and check your skin. Go to spotskincancer.org to find out how. A message from the American Academy of Dermatology.
Welcome back, everyone, to Valley Homes on TV. Todd Flesner along with Debbie Giordano.
Hi, Todd.
Yeah, we're going to do a little wrap up here, talk about some of the recent developments in the real estate market here locally, and also kind of what's happening in the world of finance
Oh
and
my
mortgages.
God, it's so exciting right now. What an exciting time to be in the industry and the business that you and I are in.
Never a dull moment.
Never a dull moment. Never a dull moment. I had an article in the San Jose Mercury, so I'm going to do a little Q&A with you. We're gonna test you, and I'm sure you're gonna have the answers to these.
I didn't study.
Here's a picture of President Obama, and he's addressing a class in Desert Vista High School in Phoenix, Arizona, regarding home ownership for the middle class. I guess that's kind of the sweet spot right now, and how we're going to help, or how is the American dream going to be alive for the middle class?
Right.
So anyway, how? Let me just go quickly. President Obama talked about government co-sponsored mortgage giants Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are being phased out, as we know. So how is that going to affect interest rates?
Well, yeah, they talk about the phase out of Fannie and Freddie. Fannie and Freddie are what are known as GSEs, government-sponsored entities. And they kind of have lived in this in-between land of not really a government agency and not really a private agency. And the goal is to move more to a private sort of finance arrangement where the government's role and exposure with mortgages is not as significant as perhaps it has been. Now, the government still is going to have a role in continuing to help to support a stable economy, a stable finance market. In fact, Fannie and Freddie were developed after World War II really to help with that, to help make sure that financing was available, and was a big part of that growth spurt coming out of the post-war era, and the ability for many Americans then to have a piece of the American dream and own their own home.
Okay.
So
that was in the 1940s, you
correct,
said?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And so Fannie and Freddie have had an important role to play with helping to guarantee mortgages and ensure that investors in those mortgages felt secure that those mortgages that were being sold, that there wasn't a risk of default. We've been through the boom and the bust here with the subprime era, and and in that, looking at what some of the potential weaknesses are with that. So again, taking the taxpayers out of that, off the hook a bit for that, and moving that more to a private sort of risk pool.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So interest rates.
Well, as a result, interest rates are probably going to go up a little bit.
Yep. Well, we've seen them go up a little bit.
Well, we have. We're here at the end of the summer. Over the course of the summer, we've gone up about 1% in the interest rate. And that's not necessarily related to this issue that we're talking about with here with Fannie and Freddie. That has more to do with the Federal Reserve Board and their policies, something called QE, quantitative easing.
Okay.
And we've talked about that on the show before, where the federal government, the Federal Reserve, is buying mortgage-backed securities. They've been pumping that money into the economy, keeping mortgage rates, I think, artificially low.
Okay, some loan programs we've talked about in the past, like FHA, Federal Housing Authority, which lends currently at lower rates to buyers with less than stellar credit. How do you think that might affect?
Well, Fannie and Freddie are not the FHA.
Okay.
They're separate agencies. FHA's mandate is to help promote home ownership.
Okay.
And one of the programs that FHA offers is a low down payment option. There's a little 3.5% down payment. Now, with that, there's mortgage insurance and some other expenses, but it helps those who may not have been able to save the full 20% down payment to be able to get into housing. They also have some ability within FHA to work with folks who maybe have some bumps and bruises with their credit score. So we'll accept a little bit lower credit scores as well.
Okay. The last few years we've talked about homes that are, we called it underwater.
Yes.
Where they owe more than what the value of their home is. And the President Obama apparently is proposing loans for refinance that would not, that would change the current rules. So
right. Well, the
homeowners can refinance.
The Home Affordable Refinance Program, HARP program.
So that would not be affected by what's going on currently?
No, what we've seen with HARP here is there have been some changes in those guidelines. It used to be that if your home was underwater, if it was less than the value of the mortgage was less than the value of the property, even with the HARP program, you couldn't refinance. Well, some of those rules have been relaxed a little bit, and so you can go up to 200% of the value in some instances.
Wow.
Depends on, different lenders will have some overlays to that, and but there are, you can now get a HARP loan.
But Todd, you're probably seeing where we've been doing this show for 3 or 4 years, and even up to last year, there were maybe a bit underwater.
Yes.
But I bet a lot of your clients now, with the increased in values, have gone up, that you're seeing them come back in. They're able to refi pretty smoothly and seamlessly.
Right, I'm working with a number of folks where that's been the case, where their values here locally in the Bay Area have come back, and we're able now to, even though interest rates have gone up a little bit, they're still great. And
Good.
they're lower than what the rate that they may have on their existing mortgage. And I've got some great loan programs and options for that. But I'm also dealing with some folks now who are out in the Central Valley with their properties, and those properties still haven't quite come back yet. And so I'm working with them with the HARP program. In one of those instances, the folks used to live there in the Central Valley. They took a job down in Southern California but kept their home, and they're renting it out. So they've converted it to a rental property, but we're still able to use the HARP program because
Nice.
it qualifies under that program.
Nice.
So yeah, so some of those rules have been relaxed. We're starting to be able to take advantage of
All
that.
right, just a last question, and then I'll get into some of the housing statistics. It says here that the Mortgage Bankers Association, so I'm going to ask you for your opinion, applauded Obama's plan to primarily rely on private capital while ensuring the availability of 30-year fixed-rate mortgages. What's your feeling about this new plan?
Well, I think it's going to take some time, number one, to come together. It's not going to be Fannie and Freddie stop tomorrow. It'll be replaced by perhaps another organization. We're already starting to see coming into the market more private funding.
Okay.
So what we call portfolio loans, and those are in the areas that maybe
These
the
are private investors?
Portfolio loans from banks and other financial institutions that are making
Mutual funds, maybe?
perhaps that's where they're getting some of their money is from insurance companies and the like. But what they're doing is they've expanded some of the eligibility that the Fannie and Freddie programs have clamped down on. So by using those private funds, it's going to help to make financing a little bit more readily available to a broader spectrum of different types of people. So it won't be restricted strictly to those Fannie Freddie guidelines.
Okay.
And that's one of the things that folks have been struggling with here is some of those tight guidelines that we've had the last several years.
So where are we at today with interest rates?
We're in the fours still with interest rates. So and they're
That's exciting.
bouncing. They're bouncing around. Today was a volatile day. The Fed meeting minutes were released today, and that's always something that gets the
So you're on
attention.
the phone with your clients,
Yeah, it
coaching
gets
them through that process?
Yeah, and it gets the attention of the financial markets, and so they bounce around a little bit.
Okay,
But,
okay.
But they're still great. They're not at the all-time lows, but
Right.
still historically great
Great,
rates.
great.
Yes.
Well, should we talk about real estate
Let's
values?
talk about it, yes.
Well, of course, you sent this to me, San Jose Mercury News, average silicone home tops $1 million.
I saw that
Now,
and thought of you.
Yeah. Now, of course, that's not here in Milpitas, but it's the average in Silicon Valley. I guess that's with the other, other areas combined. So that's neat. Let's talk about Milpitas and values right here in Milpitas. June 2012, we had a average home price of $527,000 and a median price of $480,000. That jumped to a year later, June of 2013, $724,000 for average price and a median price of $730,000. And I think what we had read, we were looking at about a 33% bump in prices, I think, over years.
That sounds about
and I think, if I do the math, I think that's just about there. Condos and townhomes, it continues to amaze me because Jeff had talked about all the new construction that's going on,
That's right.
in the Midtown specific area and around BART, and with all the additional multifamily condos that are being built. We still have a huge increase in pricing. In June 2012, we had $385,000 for an average price, and a median price was $408,000. It's now jumped to average price of $477,000 and $479,000 for a median price. So that's not quite 33%, but I think the
But it's still good,
single family
strong
good
condo.
strong market, strong sales. Milpitas continues to keep the pace up with Silicon Valley, and again with the new projects coming into Milpitas, BART, and all the exciting things that we've got going on here. I think we'll just continue to see the market go up and up and up.
Well, it's a great place to live, and
It is.
like I said, those other enhancements to our community just make it a little bit more attractive place to be. So, what do you see as our future trend here now? Have we plateaued, or do you think we're going to continue to see this sort of appreciation we had
I get
last
the question asked, in doing the traffic flow with the open houses are down. So
Okay.
I think that we've kind of hit, the brakes are on now. It's seasonal. We're now in August and
Right.
going into September, so there's a little bit of a seasonal slowdown. The values go up when supply and demand. When
Right.
demand is up and supply is low, you see home prices go up. And we're now seeing a larger amount of supply coming in the market. So I think the prices might even off for a little bit.
Right.
Will be interesting to see where we go in the spring of next year.
Right.
So we'll watch that. We'll have folks make sure
Good.
they tune in. And
It sounds like from the supply-demand sort of part of the equation for sellers, we're back to a little bit more of a traditional sort of market where when values were down, people weren't as anxious to sell in a down market.
Right. So they're coming back into the market. We're now being signaled off. I think we've
We could keep going,
we
but
can
we
keep
won't.
going. I don't think we can. So until we see you folks again next month, this is the August wrap-up, and thank you for watching Valley Homes on TV.
Thank you.